Hi, my name is Seo Yoon. I'm the lead server engineer on Hearthstone.
Hi, I'm Liv Breeden. I'm one of the initial designers on the Hearthstone team.
Yeah, sure. So question number one from Simon is, how will Loas and spirits change the game? So the idea behind Rastakhan's Rumble is that we have these animal gods called Loas, and they're going to be a legendary minion, one in each of the classes. And the spirits are rare embodiments of those Loas. And because they're rare, you can put two of them in each deck. And so the idea is that the spirits are going to be kind of build around cards for your deck. And because you can have two of them, you can somewhat reliably ensure that you'll be able to get them. And because they have the ability of stealth for one turn, you hopefully will have the opportunity to use them for at least 2 turns. And so they're going to synergize really well with each other. And our hope is that our players are going to find really interesting decks to build that take advantage of those synergies. Like, for example, with Warlock, we've shown off Hyreek the Bat, which is 8 mana 1/1, but the battle cry is fill your board with Hyreeks. And the corresponding spirit of the bat, says every time one of your minions dies, you get +1/+1 to a minion in your hand. And so you can imagine that these two cards really synergize well with each other, both in having Hyreek out first to feed the other minions in your hand, or the other way with Hyreek in your hand and you being able to buff Hyreek with the other minions that are already on the board.
And I mean, there's other cool combos too. Like, imagine if Bran, like before with like Bran and Rogue, you always held Antique Healbot and Bran in your hand, and then you played them both at the same time. Now you can like play out your first combo piece, and you can just kind of play the next one, right? You don't have to hold all the combo pieces all at once. You can play them as you get them, and that's pretty exciting and new, right? So, from Liam, how much Bwansamdi banter will be in the game? There's a pretty decent amount of it, right? So we recorded several voice lines because his voice is just so good, right? He's such a fun character that we made sure that we got some pretty awesome lines for him.
So then,
can you give an example?
Oh, I'm not gonna. I can't even like touch his level of like smoothness. He is so smooth, right?
you'll have to see
Yes.
when the set launches.
Yeah. I mean, we don't want to ruin the surprise.
So the next question is from Nicholas. Are there any plans for game modes with more than 2 players? A 2 versus 2 mode would be awesome. So we don't really have any plans to do anything like that. But we have done interesting things. Like, for example, we have tavern brawls where instead of you fighting against your opponent, you actually work in partnership with them to defeat like a boss that hovers in the middle of the board. So we have introduced kind of game modes that kind of are a little bit out of the box, but we don't really have any plans in terms of a 2v2 mode.
All right. What does the work process look like behind a... Oh, sorry, from Tobias. What does the work process look like behind a card, from idea to final release? So there's a couple things. Some cards, like Bwansamdi, we start with top down, right? And we're like, well, what's Bwansamdi about? Well, he's about spooky, evil, dead stuff. And then, I mean, I guess I'll pick a different example. So we'll do Hyreek. So Hyreek is a top down, and we wanted to really like feed the hungry blood god, right? So we wanted to figure a way to, between Spirit of the Bat and Hyreek the Bat, ways that we could fulfill the fantasy of feeding into that hungry bat god. Other cards work bottom up, like Savage Striker. So Savage Striker says battle cry, deal your hero's damage or your hero's attack to as damage to an enemy minion. So really what we wanted to do is play into the feral fantasy of being a druid and transforming into dinosaurs and that sort of thing and getting down and dirty. So really we just wanted a minion that had good board presence that worked well with your hero. So we started from bottom up. So there's different ways we can approach card design from that perspective. Once we have the card in place, then we decide, well, what's a cool character? And if we went top down, that's super easy because like Hyreek the Bat or Bwansamdi, we've got the character already in mind. With Savage Striker, we're like, well, what kind of character would this be? They'd ride raptors maybe, they'd have spears, they'd be kind of like a ranged character because they're dealing damage. So we work on that. And then we come up with the voice lines and things like that. For more established characters, we go into like, what's WoW done? So we lean in heavily, in this case with Rastakhan's Rumble, with BFA coming out, we were able to like rely really heavily on what they've done and use their resources as well. So yeah,
Actually, do you want to do the next one, and then I'll do the one
Sure,
after
sure.
that?
So, Victor, will Dragon Priest get any love? Well, this set is about dinosaurs and trolls. So, Dragon Priest is not getting any love this set, but hopefully some in the future.
I can take the next one. So, Eric says, are you worried at all about Valve getting into card games with Artifact? So, generally speaking, the people on the Hearthstone team, we play all sorts of games, and we play plenty of games that are not Blizzard games. I mean, you know, people get super excited about, you know, kind of the latest releases, and we play everything. And so, having said that, I mean, if other card games are out there and people are playing it and enjoying them, I think that's great, right? So, generally speaking, if more people are playing card games, then I think that kind of helps everyone. And you know, we're also excited by what, you know, everyone else is working on as well. Because like I said, we just don't play Blizzard games all the time. We play other stuff as well.
This is from Sia. Do you have any plans to implement some kind of class packs? I think it would make decks less expensive for players who only play 2 to 3 classes. That's really cool. But we don't have any plans at this moment to do that. But that's a really cool idea, and we can think about that.
Next question from Richard. Any plans on creating a new class? So I think one of the cool things that, I mean, obviously people have been kind of talking about that idea for a long time. And I think one of the cool things that we did with the Knights of the Frozen Throne is we kind of imagined what would it be like if any of our 9 heroes became Death Knights. And so I thought that worked out really well, and people were really excited by that idea. And, you know, we thought it was a lot of fun. At this point, we don't really have any plans to, you know, work on any other classes.
This is from Anton. Will you nerf Kingsbane? There aren't any plans right now to nerf Kingsbane. We just did a round of nerfs, so we're kind of just hoping for the next. We're excited for the next expansion to come out and seeing if that'll shake up the meta. I mean, we've introduced a Kingsbane-like Paladin card for minions, so maybe you can transfer your hate to that.
Okay, next question is from David. What is your long-term plan to keep Hearthstone attractive as an esport? So obviously, the esports perspective, you're talking about a much more competitive environment, and you know, with the release of Rastakhan's Rumble, we're going to shake up the meta. And one of the things that we always look forward to is to see what our players imagine with the cards that they now have in their hands, right? Obviously, we do a lot of play testing internally to try to figure out, you know, how things work and what works well and what doesn't work well. But ultimately, you know, we cannot replicate the brain power of our player base to be able to find all the little nooks and crannies that exist in the new cards. And so we're really excited about that. Kind of more from a technical aspect, I mean, we're constantly working with the esports team to have tighter integration with the broadcasts that they want to do. You know, they want to show, you know, interesting data to the players who are watching the streams. And so we're constantly working with them to try to improve that experience. But at this time, we don't really have anything to announce.
I mean, there are plans in the works, but I think we get to hear about that next year. So.
Emil.
Yeah. Emil, when will you be able to play against a Murloc instead of a worthy opponent? I mean,
or a Blizzard developer.
A Blizzard developer,
yeah.
Or that, like, I don't know, the Roguey Rogue. There's another one. I mean, they're all. It's a fun story. Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about that jokingly, but I don't think we have any plans to change where the spinner ends up when you actually.
But
find
it
the
is
match.
very funny.
Yeah. Actually, you want to do the next one?
Oh, yeah, sure. So this is from Tobias. What was your thought process behind the card that destroys half of each player's deck? So this is Void Contract. It's a Warlock spell. It costs 8 mana and destroys half of your deck and half of your opponent's. So this is an exciting card. It's really meant to... it really speaks to that kind of person that likes to watch the world burn, right? They enjoy watching other people's stuff get burned up. And it's a very small set of players, and we wanted to create cards that appeal to them. Or if you are a Shutterwalk hater and you just want to get rid of it, right? That way there's a card you can fall back on, and you feel good about putting it in your deck, and then there's some payoff with it. So I think it speaks to a very specific type of player, and we're excited do that every now and then. I mean, we still have to we still have to be careful about it because we don't want to do too much disruption, right? If we print disruption for every class, then everyone's not having fun. But if it's a once in a while thing, it can be kind of exciting.
Okay, the last question on this list from Victor, tournament mode, question mark, question mark, question mark. So obviously, tournament mode was a thing that we had been working on for quite a while, and we had recently announced that we were going to put tournament mode on hold until we were able to kind of figure out and reprioritize what exactly we wanted out of something called tournament mode in Hearthstone. I think one of the traps that we got into with regards to tournament mode was that we announced this feature very, very early. And one of the things that happens when you do that is that kind of the expectation of what tournament mode will be and our direction of what we want it to be start to diverge. And of course, the longer time that exists between announcement and release, the further those two paths can diverge. And I think that's one of the things that happened for us. So we wanted to take a step back and make sure that we made a version of tournament mode that we thought the players would be happy with and that we were happy with, and that kind of accomplished the things that we wanted out of tournament mode. And I think as time went on, we realized that we were not going to be accomplishing those goals. And so the right thing to do, even though it was super painful, was to take a step back and reassess what exactly it is that we want. Now, having said that, we haven't canceled tournament mode. We've just put it on hold, and we kind of want to figure out what it is we want to do before putting some more work into it.